Welcome to the American Grit Podcast. My name is Daniel. I'm your host. Joining us today, we have Christina Kelly and Brandon Becker. How are you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing great, Dan. Thanks for asking.
You look fantastic.
I feel fantastic.
You look moisturized and hydrated.
I did my whole routine this morning. It's Valentine's Day, so I had to.
Yeah, you got a hot date?
Nate.
Oh,
Nate's my hot date tonight.
He is a charming fellow.
He is.
But enough about your love life. Christina, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be spending my Valentine's Day with Grunt Style, obviously.
Do you have a hot date tonight?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
At the rodeo, right?
Oh, yeah. Find some cowboys and chaps.
Yeah.
So speaking of attractive cowboys, Brandon decided to join us today, take a break from all the amazing content that he does on social media. And Christina, you flew all the way from the East Coast, escaping the blizzard of 2 or 3 inches of snow.
Yeah, it was super cold over there. I'm happy to be in Texas.
2
Much
to 3
nicer.
inches of snow. Some would say that's too much.
Some would say. I mean, that's about an average snowfall. So.
Yeah.
But you are a Marine.
Mm-hmm.
You also are quite expeditious in nature. You travel a lot, whether it be for work in the Marine Corps. You recently got back from Brazil, or you might do it for your professional career. How do you find that traveling so many other places affects your perception of America?
Honestly, every time I travel, I am thankful to be an American. I know that sounds kind of cliche, but I'm serious. I go to all these countries and I just see how, poor a lot of them are, and I just feel like thankful to be an American and have the opportunities that I have. And I don't even know. I haven't been to every country, but I've been to a lot, and I mean, I'm thankful to be here. So when I travel, it gives you a new perspective.
Yeah, like when I'm in Europe and they're like, oh, you got to pay like 4 hay pennies or whatever the currency is to use the bathroom. I'm like, this is why we had a revolution.
Yeah.
They tax us to piss. Like, what the hell is this?
Free bathrooms.
Free bathrooms.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like every time I get back from overseas, all I want to do is find a Red Lobster, get some Cheddar Bay biscuits.
I feel bad every time I travel. It's like you give a $5 tip in America and people are like, ugh, only $5. But you give a $5 tip in like, say Mexico, and they're like, oh my God, like you just gave me enough money to feed my family for a week. Like they're just so grateful, and it's like, wow, that's really eye-opening. So I go to other countries and I'm like, here's all my life savings. You need it more than I do.
It's like that scene from Euro Trip where he tips him a nickel and he's like, I started my own hotel.
Now, Brandon, you travel a lot in the U.S., and it feels like every time you get back from one of your travels, it actually makes you hate America more.
Yeah, sometimes I travel and I'm like, do we suck? Are we the problem?
Yeah.
Is it us?
Like I got back from Iceland, nicest country in the world. I landed in Baltimore. I got in 3 fist fights and 2 knife fights leaving the airport.
Yeah.
So like that was lovely.
Yeah. East Coast is people are a little bit meaner for sure. They come down to Texas and everyone's like, hi, how are you doing? And then I was just in New York a couple of days ago in the city, and everyone's just facing their phone, kind of like bump right into you. They don't care that you exist. So
meanwhile, in Texas, they're like, you don't agree with my political views, and haha.
Well, and I was in Oklahoma for a wedding, and
Oh,
everybody at the
A-okay.
only Applebee's in town was super nice and polite.
love
that's great.
Applebee's.
So tell us a little bit about Brazil. What were you doing down there, and what was your experience?
So I was down there with the Marines, and we
Right.
were,
Oh, God.
and we were actually.
Sorry, Brandon, not everyone could be the world's finest fighting force.
Well, everybody's got to have a role model.
And we were actually doing a joint operation. There's a lot of countries down there that came for this training exercise. And they do it every year. It's called UNITAS. They pick a different country to do it. But pretty much we were kind of teaching a lot of the Brazilian Marines like how we do something called FARPs. Those are forward arming refuel points. And it's pretty much when helicopters land, we refuel them, arm them, and they go up to complete the mission. We could set those up anywhere to be expeditionary and to be fast. Like if they need a refuel point, how fast can we set it up to keep the mission going? So we were kind of teaching and working alongside with them, having the Brazilian Marines come up and fuel the aircraft and just showing them some of our methods that the United States uses.
Now, I know what everybody listening is thinking. How did they come up with the acronym UNITAS, was it?
UNITAS.
Yeah, what's that stand for?
I don't even know.
It probably just sounds cool, and they had
It's
to
something
shoehorn
United,
words
I'm
into
assuming.
it. Yeah,
I was more interested in FARP because
Yeah.
that
FARP,
is
yeah.
a mouthful.
one
FARP,
letter
yeah.
away from greatness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost had it.
I
What it-
explained that one.
What does FARP stand for again?
Forward Arming Refuel Point. So pretty much expeditionary refueling.
Why didn't they call it forward arming refuel training? I mean, you talk
Is that
about
what-
gas.
That close.
You
Is
know?
that what the Army calls it?
I have no idea.
No, the
Again,
Army.
we talked about it. ASVAB waiver. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So, is there anything unique about the way that they were training the Brazilians to refuel the helicopters versus you said there were other countries there that may have different techniques?
So there was a lot of things going on. I was only on the aviation side of it, but there was so many different missions and training exercises going on around Brazil with all the different, MOSs and stuff working together. For us in the United States, we refuel the helicopters while they're still going. It's called a hot FARP, and the birds are still the way they're still spinning. But in Brazil, they do cold FARPs where they shut down. They shut down the engine and then they refuel, so it takes a lot longer.
Trying to talk about this with two guys who
I can't
are
say
middle school
FARP.
dropouts.
Yeah, no, we had breakfast tacos too. Like,
Oh man,
yeah,
the jokes write themselves, Dan.
and we have some refueling issues later on. But be that as it may, did you have a good time?
I had a great time. The biggest hurdle was definitely just they speak Portuguese.
Yeah.
We don't. So that was tough, but you have to figure it out. Like if you go to these other countries, you don't speak the same language. You still got to work together. So
Yeah. Do you have any? Did you use like the Google Translate app to try to overcome that?
it was a lot of that, and a lot of us spoke Spanish, so we were able to like translate a couple things. It's a little close, but at the same time, not really. So yeah, it was difficult. Biggest hurdle of the mission for sure.
What would you say is the biggest similarity and the biggest difference between the U.S. Marines and the Brazilian forces?
The biggest similarity and the biggest difference. Oh, that's tough because I don't know.
We asked the
for
hardball questions here.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure because I didn't get to work with them too long. But to me, what stood out is just how much faster we were with refilling the birds and getting them back in the game. So that was like we were on like fire with that. We do it so much. So
Because America has a tendency to do far more airborne operations, whether it be fixed wing, rotary, slow mover, fast mover, that one weird plane with the big dish on top of it, that detects weather and radar and stuff like that. But we spent a lot more time in the air than any other nation as far as our military assets go. Is that something that you would agree with, disagree with?
yeah, for sure. Like we even we do these trainings even at night just to be proficient at it because like you never know where you're going to be, what kind of field you're going to be in. So that's part of my job is going out to these fields and making sure like this is safe for helicopters to land and get out of, and we could do this in a timely manner, and we have distance to keep it away from the fuel, so no issues there.
How seriously do you feel like the Brazilian forces took it compared to the American forces?
I think they took it really well. Everyone there was like, wow, America, like they're here. They wanted patches. They wanted
Fuck
our
yeah.
uniforms. They were so like happy to be around us. Everyone was like, can I take a picture with you? Oh my God, a female Marine. Like they were
Yeah.
just ecstatic. So I think they took it seriously. They enjoyed it.
Imagine you're some like Brazilian military dude in like an international runway model shows up. Like, of course you wanted a picture.
Yeah.
He's like, this is what all the girls in America look like. Like, bro.
Come on.
Because I don't know if your experience with training with other forces, they don't always take it as seriously as we do overseas, particularly in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
It was not super fun.
It was not great.
I had a decent time with Jordanians, Australians, and British. Great. Absolutely. Highly recommend them. Good time with Germans, particularly
wow.
enough.
Nice.
Yeah, we had a lot of foreign students come through Quantico as well.
Watching the Iraqis train was like watching your special nephew like trying to learn how to walk. It was
He's doing his best.
a lot of entertainment, but not much tactical proficiency.
So would you ever go back to Brazil recreationally?
Oh yeah, I'm actually planning a trip for May. I think I'm gonna go back,
Oh, right on.
take some girls down, and go explore a little bit. I
Right on.
loved Brazil.
But so you did not get enough of aviation in your professional life, so you actually became a private pilot in your personal life.
Yeah, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life when I came back from boot camp and everything. So
Relatable.
I was like, I guess I'm going to go to school. And I got my degree. And then I was like, I guess I got to get a degree in something. So I got in aviation, already halfway there. And then I got my pilot's license, seaplane license. And now I'm doing my instrument rating. And then next is commercial. So
Right on.
hopefully fly private jets.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a serious question because I saw the way you looked at me. Like the aviation industry is under a lot of heat and just there's a lot of craziness happening. Does that make you kind of hesitant about what you're wanting to do? Have you had like second thoughts about it?
Yes and no. I know that the aviation industry is always going to be around, so it's a safe, secure job, I think, for the future. But depending on the company, I know Boeing is under a lot of fire lately with issues with their aircraft, so that would be maybe not a company I'd want to go towards.
Because America, no matter how many planes crash, we're still going to get on one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
People
I mean,
are still going to travel.
to be fair, I looked at you because I see my unborn children in your eyes. It has nothing to do with the dangerous nature of aviation, which, and, you know, feel free just to say hard pass and we'll immediately change the subject. But we see a lot of aviation accidents in the U.S. military. And do we think that that's something based on some sort of external issue? Or do you think that it just seems like it happens more because of the pure volume of flight hours that our military logs?
I'm not sure because I don't fly at all for the military. But like it's just heartbreaking to see. And I mean, you do have very young people like 18, 19-year-olds fresh out of boot camp and MOS school upkeeping these aircrafts. And their aircrafts are very old. We don't have a lot of money to replace them. We don't have a lot of money for parts. And it's sad to see such young guys pass away over things like this, over negligence while we're sending money to other countries.
Congress, senators, you hear that?
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll have a disclaimer somewhere else, but in no way, shape, or form do any opinions shared here reflect those of the DOD. That being said, we have the money.
I second that.
We have the money. We
Stop sending it to everyone else.
Yeah.
I pay my taxes.
Moldy barracks, bad tap water, our burn pits, you know, regulations, stuff like that. Like we have all these issues, maintenance. Like I had a zip tie in the buttstock of my saw in Iraq. Like, come on. Like, I know, like we joke and we kid. I'm like, yeah, you know, like SOCOM spends $25,000 on their Christmas party, but yet I can't get a barracks without mold. You know, like they can't fix the AC in my barracks.
You can't drink the water out of the faucet. Come on, guys.
But you know, yeah, we have this tendency to kind of like look at these things and like identify here, identify there, what we think. But ultimately, none of us really know what, you know, the leadership in the Pentagon and the White House want their, you know, 5, 10, 20-year plan to look like. So it's like there may be like something innocuous going on that we may not think is a big deal, but that's like the linchpin of some sort of international strategy. Like we need this partner. Like, oh, why'd we send, you know, $1 million to Tanzania? Well, we're trying to have, you know, a forward launching base for SEALs to be able to go slit throats from Tanzania in a submarine. But you can't know about that. So maybe calm the fuck down a little bit. But who am I to say?
Yeah, we really don't know a lot. Like I said, I'm not a pilot in the military, so I don't know what's going on. But I try not to speak too much or have too much of an opinion on things I don't know about. But I think we all can sit here and be like, let's spend our money on us before sending it to so many other people.
All I know is that every time I get on an airplane now, I make sure to look the pilot in the eye and just be like, hey, man.
You okay?
You good?
You having a good day today?
I was recently, we headed out to SHOT Show, and I took the direct flight on Spirit because, you know, I am...
Because Daniel likes to live dangerously.
I do, and I got the exit row seat,
too.
and I was looking at that exit row, you know, with the Alaska Airlines, you know, the door that popped off, and I was like, if this is how I go, this is how I go. Be happy to do it.
Did you pay the $30 fee to have a seatbelt in your...
Hey, I'm cheap too. I fly Spirit all the time. I don't care. I don't care how much money I have. I will always fly Spirit.
See, this is Marine mentality right
yeah,
here.
Yeah, point A to point B.
Give me a rope, a skateboard, and a pair of goggles. I will hold on to the back of the plane as we're like Mr. Luxury over here. With
first
all his,
class.
Yeah, his fancy army. How many times have you flown first class recently?
Like every flight.
Yeah, no, because you got all the points because you get upgraded.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great, guys. Have fun back there with the poors.
With the peasants.
So this is literally Marines and Army right here.
Yeah,
I would rather be an Afghan refugee hanging on the wheels of a Delta flight than fly Spirit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, at least the Wi-Fi might work on that flight. I think I've had issues with every flight that I've been on with Wi-Fi, and that is such a modern problem. You know, like the power that went into like your calculators, what took us to the moon. You know, but now I'm over here like, oh, I don't have Wi-Fi at 35,000 feet.
Granted, we both work 24/7.
Yeah.
Even my flight here, didn't have Wi-Fi, and I was like, how am I supposed to work? But
Gross.
first world problems. It's just complaining over nothing.
Yeah, but you know, it's hard to really pin down the science that goes in. Like I know how to use a microwave. I don't know how one works.
Yeah.
You know, like I'd be useless to that. If I got sent back in time, I'd be like, hey, E equals MC squared. And they're like, what the fuck is any of that?
Yeah.
I'd be like, you need to boil your milk and cool it down. Like, I think it's called pasteurizing. Like, that'd be about the extent of my scientific knowledge that I could take back with them.
Marines.
I'm like, hey, don't make your water pipes out of lead. Roman Empire looking at you.
Have you ever heard of asbestos?
Yeah, don't use that.
So when you are flying, because like you don't do that in the Marine capacity, but you do it in the civilian capacity. When you're flying and you're up there, have you ever had like an instrument failure, or have you ever had like have you ever trained on that to like have to not rely on the technology to be able to get you to land safely?
Yes, we do that constantly. Constantly, our instructors will purposely fail the instruments, or take away our GPS, put us in the middle of nowhere and be like, get home. Or they'll pull our power and they'll be like, now land the plane. And you're like, you have no engine, so you gotta land. That's just part of training.
It's just gone. It disappeared.
You're preparing. Yeah, they pull it. They pull everything.
We were flying over Stockton. Someone stole the engine at a red light. Like,
you got to land safely, whether it's going to be on a highway or on an open field, or if you make it to the runway. They always say, fly the plane to the ground. Don't stop flying the airplane, no matter what. So
to be
That's
fair,
terrifying.
To be fair, every airplane flies to the ground.
Yeah,
Just the
eventually.
proximity of the landing, the gentleness of the landing is
you'll
debatable.
get there, but yeah, if you give up, you're going to get there a lot harder.
Yeah,
So.
you know, it'll take you all the way to the scene of the crash.
Was the whole point of me being on this podcast just to convince me to stop traveling? Because you're doing a good job.
This is how you guys save money on travel.
So, as you know, we've all had to do combatives in the military. I know you've probably experienced this where like when you're first starting out and you get like somebody who's more experienced like in a submission, and they do that douchebag thing where they like act like they gave it to you and they start like coaching you through it. Like, oh, if you move your elbow here, put your hips here. Like, no, like I got you. Like, just tap. Do they do that with the instruments where like the plane actually, like the instrument actually failed and they're like, oh, no, like this is training. This is part of the simulation. Like, figure it out. But in the back of their head, they're like, fuck.
See, no, but one time we did actually lose the instruments. We actually lost our vacuum. So a couple of our instruments went, and we were like, oh my God, this is so cool. We lost our instruments. And we were like, maybe we should go land. So we did, but
Why were you vacuuming?
Yeah.
What?
There's a Valentine's Day joke there. I'm not going to make it.
But what is the point of a vacuum on an airplane?
It kind of
Cabin pressure?
To simplify it, no, it's not for cabin pressure. There is no cabin pressure in the airplanes I fly. I fly smaller planes.
Yeah.
And I don't go really too high, so we don't really need oxygen or anything. But vacuums kind of control the gyroscopic instruments.
Oh,
So a
okay.
vacuum spins the instrument, which keeps it working. If you lose the vacuum, you lose the instruments.
No,
and
that
that
makes
kind of
sense.
tells you things like,
Obviously, it keeps the gyroscopic
Yeah,
instruments going
the
down.
flux capacitor just
in the
regulated.
most simple way I can explain it.
Now, see, we have an interesting dynamic because it's like two Marines, one Army, but then at the same time, it's like fancy aviation stuff.
Yeah.
Grunts.
Two grunts. Well, and you could see her like take a second and go like, okay, how do I explain to these two obviously like morons?
No.
She's like, you know, according to Pythagorean theory and habeas corpus, like, dummy.
No.
So you made it safely. You survived.
Yeah, always had safe landings.
Now-
Not always the best landings, but safe landings.
Now, would you ever jump out of your plane if you had a parachute?
I have skydived before.
No, but from your Cessna.
Oh, from my plane?
Yeah, from your smaller plane. Like, you
With no one else flying it?
if you have like an instructor with you.
Oh, and the instructor's going to go land the plane?
Yeah.
Am I jumping by myself?
Yeah.
No.
You would never do that?
No. I'd rather be with someone else, I think, like on their back, like the instructor. But
Yeah.
yeah, getting a skydiving license too is no joke.
because we went down to our CPT and they put us in the Cessnas and they hooked our static line to like the inside. They had like welded like a frame and they just like pushed us out of the Cessna.
In a little Cessna.
Yeah, like 1,500 feet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no, that was super fun.
Figure it out, bud.
Yeah, no, have fun.
1,500. Wow.
Like you got to reserve if anything goes wrong.
So you had a parachute.
Yeah.
1,500. That's pretty quick. You got to pull it like as soon as you get out, right?
Well, the static line pulls it
Oh,
out
it
for
pulls
you. Yeah.
it for you. Okay.
Yeah, and so it's, as soon as you go out, it pulls your chute for you. Because like I don't know about you, but sometimes like I get intrusive thoughts, and like my whole thing would be like if I would prank the instructor, and like he like corrects me on something like, oh, if you're gonna be that way, and I just hook my static line and just
Do I want to pull this?
yeah, and then I land safely, do my PLF, break everything, and then the instructor like lands the plane like, really, dude?
Not service related.
Not at all.
Oh yeah.
But it seems like you have placed yourself in several environments that are very high stress, whether it be the Marine Corps, whether it be piloting, whether it be, the fast-paced world of being like a model, an influencer. There are a lot of demands, and it feels like with a lot of these things, like the work doesn't stop when you leave the proverbial office. Like there's external pressure, there's homework, there's preparation you have to do to be ready for those things, in all of those regards. And that can put a lot of pressure on a person. And I know we experience that as well. So what are some of the things that you do to alleviate that stress? Like what are your hobbies? What do you do to find your center?
So honestly, my number one hobby is sleeping, napping, resting my eyes, closing them, taking a break, things like that. But no, all jokes aside, I really like to do like archery. That is so relaxing to me, and just, that's a skill you can constantly perfect. I feel like it's a skill that's dying these days. Nobody really shoots archery, at least not where I live.
Now, do you use a compound bow or do you use a recurve?
I shoot every bow. I have crossbow, compound, and recurve.
So you shoot an English longbow?
Yeah.
You said every bow,
a little wooden, well, no, not an English longbow, but like a little wooden recurve bow, no
Nice.
sights.
And if you don't know the difference between the two, check out AmericanGrit.com. We had a fantastic article. Back to you, Christina.
Besides for that, I like to shoot guns. That's always fun too. I like anything outdoors. Anything that gets me out of the house is relieving. And when I could just put the phone and the cameras down, because I know it sounds ridiculous to complain, but a lot of influencing is just capturing your whole life.
Yeah.
So it's nice when you could just put that stuff aside and actually do what you like.
Now, do you feel that there is a certain amount of pressure to be able to capture those things, to be able to put that out there and then know that whatever you put out there is going to be judged by people who don't know you personally?
Yes, there's definitely a lot. Like there are people who shoot better than me, who do better archery than me, who model better than me. But it's all kind of about knowing your audience and trying to engage with them and doing things that you think they like. As far as like people like saying like negative comments, I don't really care. Like I posted a video the other day modeling. I walked a runway for New York Fashion Week, and the guy was like, enough of this. You need to go back to the gym. You look terrible. And I was just like, okay, it's constructive criticism. Maybe he thinks that, but whatever.
These hands are about to be constructive criticism.
I
like
can
if I
care-
post a
I
video
can
like
care
that and somebody
less.
says that, like,
These
you better
hands are
run the
rated B
fade.
for everybody, Holmes.
Yeah, that stuff doesn't bother me. I'll sit there and take the negative comments all day.
See, I cannot read the comments on anything we post on Grunt Style, because then I call Dan and I'm like, hey man, I'm not coming into work tomorrow because I'm gonna start a shotgun. And Dan's like, oh,
Really?
you can't read the comments, man.
Yeah, no, be like, hey, Brandon, like let's spend a little bit of time in the triangle compass, but that's a different discussion.
I've heard it all. And I think at this point it's like desensitizing.
Yeah.
The part that does kind of piss me off is when I post a picture in my uniform, which I'm very proud to be a Marine. And I know I'm reserves and I do model and stuff as well. But I hate when people are like, oh, you're a barracks bunny, you get passed around, you're this, you're that. Like, you can be a beautiful woman, you can be a Marine. That doesn't mean that you have to sleep with every guy you know. Like, and there's a lot of just stereotyping and like, you're this, you're that. You're just like, oh my God, you're trashed as a female Marine. And it's like, people are mad if you serve and they're mad that if you don't serve. So you just can't win. you know?
Yeah, the typical response that I hear that does well to that is like, why are you giving somebody who volunteered to serve and to put their own life goals on hold to serve their country a hard time? Have you gone to every guy in your graduating class and criticized them for not joining?
Yeah, exactly.
Or, oh, you know that women are passed around? Does that mean that you've been doing that? Are you a piece of trash?
Yeah, I mean, it takes two to tango there, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they'll even say stuff like, oh, I'd sexually assault her or something like that.
Jesus.
Or, oh, the only reason she has rank is because she's done something for it. And it's like, whatever, you know, like, get over yourself. So.
Yeah, no, that's something that I'm sure a lot of service members have to deal with. And, you know, it's frustrating when people will take such a minimalistic approach to such a complex issue. Through the American Grit podcast, through Grunt Style's effort, we, you know, have really put an effort out there to collaborate with groups like the Pink Berets to address issues that are prevalent in our military, whether it be harassment, assault, things of nature like the Vanessa Guillen case. And so when you have people that are just so flippant with those kind of comments, one, you know, we all talk about 22 push-ups a day. We all talk about mental health. We all talk about being there for each other. But then when you have the opportunity to be supportive, you choose to be a not kind person. And so that's something that I feel like as a community, we can do better.
Yeah, that's the saddest part is like when I'll click on these comments to see like where they came from, it's always from veterans. It's always from fellow military members, even other branches. It's like, why? We're literally brother and sister in arms. Why are you dragging me down? You don't even know me. So I don't really understand that aspect, why the hate comes from people who are supposed to be like your family.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and to touch on what you said, we have to do better, man, because we've seen the VA is not going to take care of us. The government's not going to take care of us. Civilians aren't going to take care of us. We have to take care of each other. So do better.
And you don't have to like everyone that you serve with. You don't have to open your mouth and say these things. You don't like it, as long as it doesn't affect your daily life, just who cares?
Yeah.
Don't comment on it.
Now, do you ever like take the profiles of the people who were saying these things and like print them out and hang them up on your archery target and you're like, fuck you, new master 69?
I haven't done that, but oh my gosh, there's been so many comments. I can write a book. Like I could just crop them all out, cut them out, and put them in a book. That's how much hate I've gotten.
Do a coffee table book where you just keep
Seriously,
it on the
with
table.
all the comments, and it's just like, whatever.
No, I genuinely think that if you did something like that, or if you like printed out the pictures and then like just farted on it, like that would, you get a whole different demographic. But I think that content would do well.
Yeah, I feel for the women that get all the hate. Luckily, I'm pretty thick-skinned, so it doesn't bother me. But I know it definitely tears a lot of people down.
Yeah, and and not to minimize anybody else's struggles, but I think we bond through shared experience. And my experience may be different from yours, but you know, we put stuff out there, and like people will be like, "Oh, that guy's, you know, this or he's that." Like, "Oh, look at him, he's ugly," or like he, you know, this. And then once you say something back, then they try to invalidate your service. Like, oh, you probably didn't even serve anyways, or you're a pogue, or you're whatever the case is. And so like I know that, you know, we may not have the exact same experiences, but if we can find some commonality where maybe you've experienced this before, where like you put something that you're fairly proud of, and then there's people in there that are unsatisfied with their own lives and they feel the need to tear other people down to momentarily make themselves feel better at the expense of our mental health.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like you said before, my experience isn't the same as everyone's. There's a lot of people who have done a lot more than me, but at the end of the day, like I'm proud to be a Marine. I'm proud to put that uniform on. I'm proud of my service, and my family's proud of me, and that's all that matters. So if I could like leave with one message, it would be like, don't worry about those comments. Don't worry about that hate. You know what I mean? Just be proud of what you did.
Yeah. And I know we talked about finding things to de-stress ourselves, particularly when, you know, you're dealing with those kind of things. But you also put yourself in more stressful situations because you'll go to the racetrack and tear your Porsche around it.
Yeah, I'm not a racetrack driver, but I do like to drive in fast cars. I like to be in control, though. Sitting passenger seat is a little bit terrifying. And I do drive a stick, a manual Porsche, so it's always fun to get out there and hit
You're
the
just
track.
over there just tearing up curves, just like
Yeah, I mean those
tearing the track up.
those mid-engines, they drive like a dream.
Yeah.
So they hit any turn so great.
Now, you mentioned that you'd done some supercar rallies. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it was kind of like where a bunch of people with really expensive cars get together and drive fast. I don't even know how to put it any other way than that. And
Fast and Furious.
that's just their hobby. They love it. They love the cars. They love to drive fast. You know, they love to get together as a group, and it's a fun time.
So whether it's being a Marine, whether it's participating in events like that, whether it's modeling overseas, whether it's, you know, being a private pilot, you know, you have entered a lot of highly specialized career fields where the scope of the amount of people compared to the population isn't very high. And so you have found success in multiple areas of life that most people only aspire to get into perhaps one. So if you were to give any sort of advice to people who want to maybe, you know, start, you know, driving super fast cars or being a pilot or traveling overseas or modeling or working with foreign militaries or even joining the military, what advice would you give them?
Honestly, I would say do it. I know a lot of women, they come and talk to me like they're scared.
Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I think of that? No, just do it.
Just do it. Don't be scared. Like
Nike, just do it.
It's a leap of faith. A lot of women, they talk to me. They're like, should I do it? What's your experience? And I always tell them, just go try it. You know, life is short. Go buy the car you want. I mean, don't put yourself in debt, but go do what you want. Like, you never know. Tomorrow could be your last day. So go spend time with your family. Tell people you love them. Like, do it. Just live your life.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because I do so many things. It's definitely you got to flip the switch, like going from modeling one weekend and then going to the military the next weekend. It's totally different, and there's a sense of professionalism that you got to change. So, but I enjoy it. It's nice. I'm like the Hannah Montana. So.
Yeah, you mentioned the importance of a family, and you had told us in the pre-interview that your family actually has been a part of the Grunt Style family for quite some time.
Yes, as long as I can remember, they love Grunt Style. Every birthday, holiday, it's like, you want this? No, you're getting Grunt Style. So I can't tell you how many shirts I have, how many shirts my family has. They're big fans.
Well, that's fantastic. We're super happy to hear that, because everything that we are able to do to help the military community, whether it's, you know, having talks like this where people can kind of check out mentally and add a little bit of levity to their life, whether it's enjoying our content on social media, you know, or participating in things like the Triangle Compass or like the foundation deployments or the Irreverent Warrior hikes that we do. All of those things are made possible because we have people that support the brand. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, we're always super, super happy to hear stories like that. Sometimes we get fan mail.
Yeah. Every once in a while.
Sometimes they're a little crazy that we can't talk about on the air.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Let's just say if something shows up and it is notarized.
Yeah.
But that's for American Grit After Hours.
That's a different episode, yeah.
Yeah, no, once we start the streaming channel and the Discord, maybe we talk about that.
I want to come back for that episode.
Yeah,
I want to hear all the tea.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. But sometimes we'll get stories of people who are just like, oh yeah, you know, like my unit is doing this and my unit's doing that. And Brandon is actually in charge of our outreach program. And how many outreach requests do you think you get?
So many. In January, we got about 100, 120. February, we're already close to 100, and we're only, halfway through the month. So.
Wow.
And, you know, unfortunately, he is just one handsome, albeit man, but he can't get to them all. So what kind of things can we do through our outreach program? So like if somebody says like, hey, can you guys come to my wedding? Is that like something that's possible?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Dan, Eric, and I went to a wedding on the Marine Corps birthday.
Really?
For 2 Marine veterans.
Nice.
So, you know, if you're out there and you want to start a nonprofit organization and you need help, let us know. If you have a nonprofit and you're like, hey, we're doing this event for veterans, can you guys do a raffle or a sponsor? Let us know. We're always, if it's something that we can do to help, we're going to try and do it. And if we can't, then maybe we can help point you in the direction of somebody that can. So.
Yeah, and I love too about Grunt Style that it's not just military and veterans, it's also first responders, and it just branches out and kind of creates this whole big family of, you know, just patriots, people that love America and love what they do. So
yeah,
and we do a lot of stuff for first responders.
We do a lot. We sent our media team out to do some ride-alongs with Houston Fire and PD. So you can check that out through our Minute of Service program. You find that on our social media or on our specifically on our YouTube or the American Grit website. So before we let you go, are there any nonprofits that you really support or you think deserve some some extra recognition?
You're putting me on the spot. I've worked with quite a few. Do you want like a veterans one or more of just anyone?
Whatever's near and dear to your heart.
Whatever you got.
Okay, so there is this one nonprofit organization called the Sunshine Foundation that I know actually did something for my family when we were very young. And pretty much they're very similar to Make-A-Wish, but just not as big, not as popular. But they will like grant wishes for children, whether they've been abused or whether they have some sort of like chronic illness or disease or something. They try to just help people by granting these wishes that might have been out of reach. And I know when we were really young, my baby brother, he's disabled, they sent our whole family to Disney World. And that was like this crazy experience, something we couldn't afford to do. And we went for a whole week. So, you know, I always try to do like fundraisers and stuff for them and just keep them in mind if I could shout them out because, like I said, they're not as big as Make-A-Wish. But they really did a lot for my family. And I know they've done a lot for so many other families.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, we will make sure that when this episode comes out, you'll be aware of it. So that way people can go to your social media. And if you have anything that you want to add with that or post with it when the time comes out, where could people find you?
So you guys can find me on Instagram at Christina_Kelly. You might have seen me already. You might have seen some of my gun videos and stuff, but that's the best way to reach me.
Fantastic. Brandon, you got any parting thoughts?
No, be nice to one another. Take care of each other.
Yep. Well, fair winds following seas. We'll see you next time here on the American Grit Podcast.